In days of old there lived, of mighty fame, a valiant prince, and Theseus was his name. A chief, who more in feats of arms excelled, the rising nor the setting sun beheld. Of Athens he was lord, much land he won, and added foreign countries to his crown. In Scythia with the warrior queen he strove, whom first by force he conquered, then by love he brought in triumph back the beauteous dame, with whom her sister, fair Emilia, came. With honor to his home let Theseus ride, with love to friend, and fortune for his guide, and his victorious army at his side. I pass their warlike pomp, their proud array, their shouts, their songs, their welcome on the way. But, were it not too long, I would recite the feats of Amazons, the fatal fight betwixt the hardy queen and hero knight, the town besieged, and how much blood it cost, the female army, and the Athenian host, the spousals of Hippolyta the queen. What tilts and tourneys at the feast were seen, the storm at their return, the ladies' fear. But these and other things I must forbear. The field is spacious I design to sow, with oxen far unfit to draw the plough. The remnant of my tale is of a length to tire your patience, and to waste my strength. And trivial accidents shall be forborne, that others may have time to take their turn, as was at first enjoined us by mine host, that he, whose tale is best and pleases most, should win his supper at our common cost. And therefore where I left, I will pursue this ancient story, whether false or true, in hope it may be mended with a new. The prince I mentioned, full of high renown, in this array drew near the Athenian town, when, in his pomp and utmost of his pride, marching, he chanced to cast his eye aside, and saw a choir of mourning dames, who lay by two and two across the common way. At his approach they raised a rueful cry, and beat their breasts, and held their hands on high, creeping and crying, till they ceased at last. His courser's bridle and his feet embraced. End quote. Tell me, said Theseus, end quote, what and whence you are. End quote, and why this funeral pageant you prepare. Is this the welcome of my worthy deeds, to meet my triumph in ill-omened weeds? Or envy you my praise, and would destroy with grief my pleasures, and pollute my joy? Or are you injured, and demand relief? Name your request, and I will ease your grief. End quote. The most in years of all the mourning train began, but swounded first away for pain. Then scarce recovered spoke, end quote, nor envy we, end quote, thy great renown, nor grudge thy victory. 'Tis thine, O king, the afflicted to redress, and fame has filled the world with thy success. We wretched women sue for that alone, which of thy goodness is refused to none. Let fall some drops of pity on our grief, if what we beg be just, and we deserve relief. For none of us, who now thy grace implore, but held the rank of sovereign queen before, till, thanks to giddy chance, which never bears that mortal bliss should last for length of years, she cast us headlong from our high estate. And here in hope of thy return we wait, and long have waited in the temple nigh, built to the gracious goddess clemency. But reverence thou the power whose name it bears. Relieve the oppressed, and wipe the widow's tears. I, wretched I, have other fortune seen, the wife of Capaneus, and once a queen. At Thebes he fell, cursed be the fatal day. And all the rest thou seest in this array, to make their moan their lords in battle lost, before that town besieged by our confederate host. But Creon, old and impious, who commands the Theban city, and usurps the lands, denies the rites of funeral fires to those whose breathless bodies yet he calls his foes. Unburned, unburied, on a heap they lie. Such is their fate, and such his tyranny. No friend has leave to bear away the dead, but with their lifeless limbs his hounds are fed. End quote. At this she shrieked aloud, the mournful train, echoed her grief, and grovelling on the plain, with groans, and hands upheld, to move his mind, besought his pity to their helpless kind. The prince was touched, his tears began to flow, and, as his tender heart would break in two, he sighed, and could not but their fate deplore. So wretched now, so fortunate before. Then lightly from his lofty steed he flew, and raising one by one the suppliant crew, to comfort each, full solemnly he swore, that by the faith which knights to knighthood bore, and whatever else to chivalry belongs, he would not cease, till he revenged their wrongs. That Greece should see performed what he declared, and cruel Creon find his just reward. He said no more, but shunning all delay, rode on, nor entered Athens on his way, but left his sister and his queen behind, and waved his royal banner in the wind, where in an argent field the god of war was drawn triumphant on his iron car. Red was his sword, and shield, and whole attire, and all the godhead seemed to glow with fire. Even the ground glittered where the standard flew, and the green grass was dyed to sanguine hue. High on his pointed lance his pennon bore his Cretan fight, the conquered Minotaur. The soldiers shout around with generous rage, and in that victory their own presage. He praised their ardor, inly pleased to see his host, the flower of Grecian chivalry. All day he marched, and all the ensuing night, and saw the city with returning light. The process of the war I need not tell, how Theseus conquered, and how Creon fell, or after, how by storm the walls were won, or how the victor sacked and burned the town, how to the ladies he restored again the bodies of their lords in battle slain, and with what ancient rites they were interred. All these to fitter time shall be deferred. I spare the widows' tears, their woeful cries, and howling at their husbands' obsequies. How Theseus at these funerals did assist, and with what gifts the mourning dames dismissed. Thus when the victor chief had Creon slain, and conquered Thebes, he pitched upon the plain his mighty camp, and when the day returned, the country wasted and the hamlets burned, and left the pillagers, to rapine bread, without control to strip and spoil the dead. There, in a heap of slain, among the rest, 2 youthful knights they found beneath a load oppressed, of slaughtered foes, whom first to death they sent. The trophies of their strength, a bloody monument. Both fair, and both of royal blood they seemed, whom kinsmen to the crown the heralds deemed. That day in equal arms they fought for fame. Their swords, their shields, their surcoats were the same. Close by each other laid they pressed the ground, their manly bosoms pierced with many a grisly wound. Nor well alive nor wholly dead they were, but some faint signs of feeble life appear. The wandering breath was on the wing to part. Weak was the pulse, and hardly heaved the heart. These 2 were sisters' sons, and Arcite one, much famed in fields, with valiant Palamon. From these their costly arms the spoilers rent, and softly both conveyed to Theseus' tent, whom, known of Creon's line and cured with care, he to his city sent as prisoners of the war, hopeless of ransom, and condemned to lie in durance, doomed a lingering death to die.